Dust ascended like a spectral veil in the waning light of the sun, gliding through the timber beams of the auction barn in Dry Creek, Texas. Within the grand arena, every seat was filled to capacity, boots tapping with a hint of anxiety, gaze firmly fixed, the black Mustang prowling like a trapped beast. His name was Stormchaser, and no man had ever sat with his back without striking the ground. He was more than that. He was both revered and dreaded, as they proclaimed him to be. Arrived into the world amidst a tempestuous display of nature's fury close to the spine of the infernal, and possessed a storm within the blood that stallion didn't merely resist. The riders he shattered pride. Jesse Rivers, the Lilo Arrow, the esteemed proprietor of River Stock and Saddle, stood with his thumbs casually hooked into his belt, observing the horse as it gracefully circled around. His voice resonated with a thoughtful concern, spanning the expanse of the arena, echoing from decades past. Whiskey and heartbreak, I'll wager 500. Easy money for those who believe they have what it takes. Endure beyond 2 minutes with Stormchaser, a venture for the audacious or the reckless. He took a decisive step forward, allowing it to linger in the air. The sound of mirth swelled from the assembly, accompanied by soft murmurs lingered, and still, no one stirred until a voice broke the silence. Small did a child step through the gate, neither a child of a ranch worker nor an inquisitive lad from the village, a young girl, not at all more than 7 years of age, with golden braids swirling and a gaze in her eyes more mature than any cowboy present. She donned attire that had seen better days, boots paired with a red flannel shirt neatly tucked in, clad in denim overalls, moved with a certain distinctive grace. As fate approached, Jesse blinked. "Well, I'll be Juniper Ray," he murmured, squinting. Yet another whisper drifted through the air, from the throng, interjecting to set him straight. "That, it is not Juniper, it is Sadie Mae Wilder, Lena's girl." A hush enveloped Sadie Mae, the offspring of Lena Wilder, a woman mysteriously disappeared following the rodeo fire. At the age of 18, Jesse felt a parched sensation in his throat. The rhythm quickens, not from dread but in a moment suspended in time. Sadie found herself at the precipice of the gaze fixed intently into the depths of Stormchaser. The Mustang huffed and pawed the ground. The ground flared his nostrils like the warning shot pierced the atmosphere, crackling with an electric tension. "Darling, that's not what you desire," Jesse began. Yet Sadie raised her hand with deliberate slowness. "He won't hurt me," she whispered. Her voice was gentle yet unwavering, and her hand was small, in defiance of the imposing figure looming ahead. Didn't rattle the audience, who leaned in closer. Stormchaser reared as dirt flew, a cry stifled within. Then, the stallion halted, defying the odds, gazed intently and gradually bowed her head, brushed against him, delicate as a whisper, and Jesse, as pale as dust, whispered to himself, "Dear God, she possesses Lena's present." The arena vacated gradually like the congregation lingered after the sermon, a sense of uncertainty hanging in the air. Comprehend murmurs that lingered in the heights, an atmosphere heavy with incredulity. Sadie Mae Wilder had not merely made contact with Stormchaser, she had quieted him. The creature that had cast aside grown men like mere playthings now traced the girl's every move, an ever-present specter. Some hailed it as a miracle while others whispered concerning ancestral ties and ancient tales. Yet Jesse Rivers remained motionless at the rail, gaze locked on the girl as she strolled, serenely approaching the entrance. The Mustang at a tremor coursed through his side, a weight upon him, long forgotten, now resurfacing with a vengeance. Within the confines of the holding barn, the illumination transformed into gold through the slats, casting long bars stretched across the dust as Sadie stood there, next to Stormchaser, gently caressing his snout with the edge of her sleeve. He did not. The action was unyielding, unbending, a quiet acceptance of the inevitable, as though he had been anticipating her rival. Silas Glee, the barn manager, rested against the doorframe, gnawing on a fragment of straw. "Clay," he said, "you know what that girl, that was quite an unusual act, but it is distinctly her mother. Once more, remember to show your appreciation. This video, if it resonated with your soul, and tap that subscribe button to join the remainder of this impactful journey. Your assistance enables us to foster greater emotional bring tales such as this one to existence. Shall we? Let's achieve one one narrative at a time." Jesse remained silent, his fingers betraying him, secured firmly around the edge of his hat. Lena Wilder, a name that still carries significance. Despite the passage of time, Lena remained like an unstoppable force, radiant and extraordinary. Departed far too early, she was the singular presence who had ever tamed his father's wild spirit. Stallion, the sole one who ever created. Jesse let go of the lingering resentment flowing through their veins, and then arrived the inferno, the rodeo's fierce flames that consumed. The stables claimed Lena and left her in their wake. Unresolved inquiries. Now her offspring was present, and she was distinctly different from Lena. She was even more unbearable. She possessed that same, the quietness, that haunting manner of attuning to the world enveloped in silence, as if she could truly listen. What creatures might refrain from speaking to humans? Jesse inhaled deeply, pondering her whereabouts all this time. In those years, he murmured as Silas merely shrugged. Nurtured by Vivian Hale, I suppose out beyond. The inhabitants of Briar Hill claimed to lead a serene existence. There was a profound silence as Jesse's jaw tightened. Viviani, Lena's mother, that woman, had not conversed with a reversion to decades later. That evening Jesse found himself in solitude within the workspace perched above the barn, its walls adorned, featuring vintage rodeo photographs and weathered saddles. He gazed intently at a framed picture on a young woman named Lena, just 20, beams with joy next to a equine that resembled excessively Stormchaser to disregard at the bottom. In the right corner of the photo lies a signature, barely faded to Jesse for what might have been downstairs. The Stormchaser thundered through, once within his chamber, and amidst the stillness that trailed behind, Sadie Mae murmured something through the forest. The path to Briar Hill twisted gracefully like a ribbon through arid mesquite and rust-colored soil. Jesse, he hadn't taken his truck out for a drive in 17 years. Shaken by the sound of tires crunching over the gravel, recollections transformed into ash. The heavens overhead were spacious and vacant, yet within his heart an increasing tension grew with every moment. Mile he was uncertain about which fear loomed larger, confronting Vivian Hale Wilder or confronting the reality he had concealed since that fateful night when Lena passed away. The past possessed sharp talons, and now it was delving into the depths of the earth. The farmhouse emerged from behind the trees, like a specter from another era. The paint is flaking away, an enchanting wind chime crafted from vintage horseshoes, and the porch that drooped in the center. Viviani stood upon it prior to him being able to strike her. Silver hair intricately woven, arms firmly crossed, as if she had been anticipating his arrival. Her gaze were keen and unwavering, much like her offspring and now her descendants. "It took you long enough," she remarked, her voice laced with a hint of impatience. Coarse as pebbles steeped in a warm brew, I beheld the girl Jesse claimed to have touched. Stormchaser, reminiscent of Lena's past adventures. The name hung between them like a flickering flame. Smoke. Cora remained unyielding. She pivoted and entered silently, not uttering a single word. Departing with the door ajar, Jesse ventured into the house. Was infused with the scent of cedar and aged tobacco. On the wall adjacent to a vintage wedding portrait was adorned a photograph capturing Lena, youthful and wide-eyed, with arms outstretched, enveloped by a sleek black Mustang Fura. The handwriting of a child was hastily scrawled in crayon on the frame. "Mama and Stormy," Cora remarked from the kitchen. "She speaks to him. The steed. Is that the inquiry you wish to pursue, isn't it?" She placed two chipped mugs on the table of coffee, yet she did not take a seat. She listens intently. Matters that many people do not appreciate, much like her mother overlooked me, but not Lena, and not Sadie. Jesse gazed into the mug as if it held the secrets of the universe. It contained revelations that ignite the darkness. Lena, her passing was no mere coincidence, was it, Cora? With a piercing gaze. "You have no right to pose that question." Now Jesse took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "I must wonder if Sadie's in peril," Cora chuckled. "Once harsh and parched, she has always existed in peril from the moment she entered the world." Lena endeavored to shield her from the harsh realities of existence. "From yours, from steeds raised to conquer souls. And now you wish to return, like a character from a grand tale." Concealed, feigning interest in her tone. "Just a slight crack remained when you departed. Required your presence outdoors as a gust began to rise, shaking the bells as if they were skeletal remains, and within the barn beyond the trees Stormchaser emitted a prolonged, deep sound, not a whinny, not a lament, something more ancient, something that seemed like sorrow. The breeze bore a silence upon the Wilder estate as though the terrain. It was as if the world paused, and in that stillness Sadie sat, unshod in the stable alongside Stormchaser, gently running her fingers through his flowing locks. She communicated with him without uttering a single word. Her mere presence was enough, appeared to calm him like a symphony, calms a tempest with a melody she occasionally sang, gentle melodies that were uniquely discovered, the melodies her mother would softly hum in the twilight, in the stillness of night, when the outside world seemed overwhelming. Veiled in darkness, Jesse observed intently. There he stood just beyond the stall, hat in hand, sensing the weight of intrusion in the existence that could have belonged to him. He pondered the possibilities of what might have transpired if he would have remained after the blaze, if he had struggled fiercely, united with Lena as he had promised. He would have raised that girl as his own, yet regrets did not alter what had transpired. They merely lingered. Haunted by the possibilities, he took a step forward. "Advance, Sadie May," he said softly. "May I?" She turned, not wanting to engage for even a moment. Surprised yet inquisitive, her gaze mirrored the same. Stormy blue as Lena's gaze remained unwavering on him. "You're the man from the rodeo," she said, expressed more as a declaration than an inquiry. "You were acquainted with my mother." Jesse swallowed. "Indeed, I did." A heavy silence ensued. With the burden of untold stories I also used to converse with horses, Sadie remarked. She remarked that they were more attentive than individuals. She remarked, "Creatures do not deceive." Jesse knelt down, striving to connect with her gaze without overshadowing her. Do you recall her?" he inquired, and Sadie gave a nod. "Only a few aspects, such as her voice, hands, and the scent of flames." Her prose, it sent a chill through him. "I believed it was merely a dream," she softly spoken. "Yet there are moments in the stillness of night when I behold it, the barn ablaze, mother wailing my an identity," and a powerful voice echoing from the smoke enveloped Jesse as his breath seized his hand. "Did you ever catch a glimpse of that man's visage, trembling with intensity?" Sadie gazed downward, her fingers gently caressing Stormchaser's, not merely his boots, but rather those brown leather ones, with silver tips. Jesse's jaw clenched tightly. He recalled those boots. They weren't. He understood to whom they belonged. Harlan, his younger brother, was fiercely envious. Audacious Harlan Rivers, the final individual, observed close to the stables on the evening of Lena, passed away, leaving behind the sole individual who ever genuinely despised her connection with the horses beyond it. The truck door slammed, echoing Vivian Lee's voice resounded from the porch, piercing and insistent. Sadie found herself within, and in that instant, Jesse understood that whatever had set the barn ablaze, the screen door slammed, signaling that the work was far from complete. Behind Sadie, just as Vivian Hallop emerged, the curtains closed with a single hand and extended her hand toward the rifle with the other. She glided with the grace of one who had practiced extensively. This instant, 100-fold each movement. Graceful, quiet, exacting. Jesse stood, stilled in the living room, the recollection of those silver-tipped boots still clinging to his musings. "What's happening?" he inquired with a hushed tone. Cora averted her gaze. She merely remarked, "He's back." Outside, the black pickup truck sat quietly beneath the oaks, the individual steering the vehicle, illuminated. With trembling fingers, he held the cigarette, his face a canvas of emotion, largely concealed under a time-worn Stetson. Yet Jesse discerned the form, the slouch, the simmering rage just beneath the surface. Beneath the surface, Harlan Rivers, the sibling, a specter he wished would remain unseen. Once more, he advanced, yet Cora's the barrier obstructed his path. "You have returned this to at our doorstep," she whispered. "He was gone until you stirred the ashes." Sadie glanced through the window. Stormchaser, wandering anxiously in the barn behind the "Is he the one from the blaze?" she inquired, her tone soft yet resolute. Jesse turned to her, taken aback by how great power resided within an individual. "I can't say for certain," he remarked. "To be candid, I believe he had a desire for something your mother wouldn't grant him, and when she declared that he incinerated the reality with." Cora gritted her teeth, exclaiming, "You always were too lenient with him." The truck engine. A hush enveloped the scene as Heron emerged, his boots striking the ground with purpose. The gravel crunched beneath him, reminiscent of bone. Yet he did not. With a gentle knock, he casually leaned against the post and proclaimed, "There is no necessity for theatrics. I arrived to visit my niece." The word coiled in Jesse's gut like a falsehood. Cora tilted. "The rifle is not for your eyes," Harlan chuckled. "Are you quite certain about that? Do you really believe so?" Lena never revealed that Jessie had taken a step forward. With determination in her stance, fists tightly clenched, she had never known love. She feared you before anyone else, Heron. With a graceful motion, Sadie swung open the front door, her delicate figure outlined against the. In a radiant glow, she glided by Cora and Jessie stood on the porch, gazing out into the distance. Harlan, with eyes that held a steady gaze, declared, "I know who you are," she said. "I remember your boots and I recall the scent of." The haze lingered as you departed, leaving me in tears. Barn. Harlan's smile dimmed behind the abode of Stormchaser released a piercing cry into the heavens. Feral and raw, it lacked the quality of a. The horse emitted a sound that resembled a foreboding signal, and, all at once, the atmosphere enveloping Briar Hill no longer held silence. The cries of Stormchaser echoed, resonated throughout the hills, disturbing the equines in the verdant expanse below, restless and animated, a restless breeze that swayed the branches. As Jessie gazed toward the house, an air of anticipation enveloped him. Sadie stood solitary on the porch, her shoulders squared, embodying the resolve of a soldier. Merely a youth, yet there lingered no evidence of trepidation in her posture, yet something more frigid, the wisdom that emerges from the passage of time, marked by the remnants of past struggles. One could observe the tremor in Viviani's hands, not from age but from recollection. Harlan did not advance, his boots remained in place, embedded in the earth as if anchored deep. His gaze darted toward Stormchaser's barn, then returning to Sadie. "Your mother held onto secrets," he remarked, his voice carrying a weight of revelation. "Smooth as silk, hidden truths you haven't yet embraced." "Carrie girl," Sadie tilted her head in a thoughtful manner. "How you ignited that match because she mentioned." Her voice remained steady. "She was with child at the time of her passing. You wished for her to claim it as your own, but it truly wasn't." Jessie experienced a profound rupture within himself, the space around him. Her presence made his knees tremble, as if they might give way. He murmured, his eyes darting to Cora. Her silence spoke volumes, her eyes revealing the truth. Soaked and seething, she glared at her sons. "Brother we laid to rest more than a daughter. That night," she said, "we buried the veracity, as it was the sole path to guard the young one she abandoned." Jessie stepped back, exclaiming, "That child was mine." Cora nodded once. "You were too." It was a feeble realization. Heron chuckled, yet the sound was hollow, evoking thoughts of crimson. "It is of no consequence now that the horse is indifferent to ownership. The origin from which she emerged is not of this world. Doomed, much like her, much like Lena." At that very instant, the wind began to stir, flinging the barn door wide with a resounding. The crack of thunder echoed as Stormchaser surged forward through the, unveiling his dark coat gleaming like dark stone in the fading glow, gazes entwined on Heron as if summoned by wrath itself. Get within the confines of the house, Jessie exclaimed, yet Sadie remained still. Instead, she took a step forward, stepped down from the porch and strolled with a serene demeanor toward the Mustang. He decelerated, nostrils flaring, hooves carving deep lines into the soil. Upon reaching her, he came to a halt, rested a hand upon his chest. "No," she murmured. "Not like this." Stormchaser snorted yet refrained from charging. "And that's..." As Heron extracted the pistol from the depths of his coat, Cora let out a piercing scream as Jessie lunged forward. But Sadie held her position, and in that, the instant all that had been concealed began to ascend. The firearm shimmered beneath the final rays of the sun directed boldly at Sadie. Stormchaser stood still beside her, his muscles coiled with tension, eyes captivated by Heron. Jessie's voice shattered the silence. "Do not even think about it, Heron. That is your niece." However, Harlan's expression contorted not with remorse but with something more profound. "She's not my own," he exclaimed. "She's the reason Lena selected you. You and that cursed equine lineage in her veins." Sadie remained composed, her petite palms remained firmly against the Mustang. Huffed, its chest heaving like a tempest unleashed, scratching the earth, the strain in the form ascending with the force of an impending surge. Viviani lingered in the shadows of the screen door, the weapon firmly held in her grasp, her eyes filled with astonishment. "You put that gun down, Heron," she commanded. "Don't compel me to complete what Lena ought to have." Harlan aimed the firearm slightly toward Cora. "Proceed, dear lady. You've been yearning to take that decisive action for 2 decades. What actions would you take if you were?" Sadie gazing intently down the barrel of a firearm in hand, accompanied solely by a Mustang at your. Feel free to share your reflections in the comments below. This moment rattled us to our very essence, and I would like to hear your perspective. Followed by Jesse's thoughts. Interposed himself swiftly, his movements quick and deliberate. The passage of time overtakes him more swiftly than sorrow and remorse had ever allowed him prior to his planting himself before Sadie, arms outstretched, bare and vulnerable. You seek to conclude a chapter. Conclude it alongside me, he remarked, yet refrained from indicating that instrument directed at a young one, not after what you did to her mother. Harlan's hand quivered, the firearm trembled, she shattered. All that he whispered, she stirred within me, as if in a moment of profound stillness. The shot echoed, startling the birds into flight, burst forth from the foliage. Storm chaser raised, lamenting towards the heavens for at that instant, it was uncertain who had pulled the trigger. Smoke lingered in the atmosphere, and then Harlan recoiled, grasping his shoulder. Crimson liquid pooled upon the rough stones at the rear of the screen. Ka gradually lowered her rifle. The barrel remained warm, her face was pale, yet her gaze remained unwavering. I warned you, she declared, whispered gently. You don't threaten family. Jesse fell to his knees, breathless, quivering. Sadie held her hand steady, the Mustang, and gazed at Harlan as he twisted in agony upon the earth. She did not wept, she did not raise her voice, she merely murmured, now you understand what it feels like to lose control. The sirens wailed in the distance. A voice had reached out to them. Perhaps it was Silas, but in the grand scheme, it held little significance. All had transformed, and as Storm Chaser lowered his head beside the girl watched as the dust began to settle, yet the truth lingered in the atmosphere, poised and expectant for what unfolded next. The paramedics came upon the scene, casting a gentle glow over the landscape, vanished beyond the crimson hills. Azure beams danced upon the weathered barn walls, stretching their elongated silhouettes over the arena where crimson still stained the gravel. Harlan River handcuffed, and the groaning figure was carefully placed onto a stretcher, utterances tangled and brimming with malice. She bears a curse, as you shall soon witness, much like her own mother. There was no response, no one required it. Within the confines of the house, Sadie found herself seated upon the worn couch's legs swaying beneath her, hands lingering with a subtle scent of horse and smoke. She remained silent. Storm Chaser was composed, now moving deliberately behind with his fury exhausted. Jesse remained standing in the threshold, observing his daughter, his inquietude. The truth lingered with the daughter between them like a gaping wound. He longed to extend her hand, wished to express an act that could wipe away countless years of absence, yet nothing arrived. Viviani remained still, cradling the chilled firearm across her thighs. At last shattered the silence. You should, to convey her thoughts, she remarked, her gaze averted. She deserves to hear it from you. Jesse inclined his head slightly and took a knee before Sadie. Your mother, Lena, she was the most resilient spirit I ever encountered. She did not desire for you to flourish amidst in a tumultuous clash of kin. She implored your grandmother to ensure your safety. Sadie gazed at him, her gaze brimming with inquiries she had yet to articulate. Why didn't you come for me, she asked, inquired Jesse, feeling a constriction in his throat. Because I was a coward, he said. I believed that distance would shield you. Yet, the reality is that I was safeguarding my own well-being from the burden of that haunting memory. Throughout the night, my thoughts were consumed by you. I simply couldn't accept that I was worthy of discovering. Sadie's eyes remained unyielding, yet she merely nodded, showing no signs of resistance. Mother often remarked that there was goodness within you, merely concealed it too profoundly. The chamber succumbed. Silence enveloped the surroundings as a deputy made his entrance, venturing into the barn to assess the condition of the horse. Storm Chaser remained unyielding, standing with unwavering poise, composed yet dignified as the gentleman extended his hand. The Mustang did not flinch in fear, but, with an air of inevitability, Sadie emerged at the hesitate and rested her hand softly on his. He's safe now, she whispered. The steed exhaled gently and bowed its head. Jesse reclined on the porch, his head tilted back, next to Cora, gazing into the shadows. Pastor, what shall I do next? He inquired, and Cora replied, begin anew if she permits. The dawn following the tragic event arrived silently, shrouded in a gentle mist and the rich aroma of moist earth. The ranch lay silent, untouched for the very first time. In those days, silence reigned, devoid of shouts or threats. hidden realities struggling to emerge. The rhythmic sound of Stormchaser munching, straw scattered across the field and birds warily returning to the majestic oak tree behind the. In the quiet of the barn, Sadie stirred awake, as was her customary routine. But this time she did not proceed. Without hesitation, she made her way to the stables and took a seat on the porch steps. She sat with her arms enveloping her knees, gazing into the gradually unfolding sky. Jesse Rivers emerged from the dwelling. Moments later, grasping two weathered tin, steaming mugs of dark coffee, he offered one to. Without uttering a single word, Sadie accepted it. In quietude and in a way that is effortlessly straightforward, gesture conveyed more than 1,000 words. Regrets lingered as they shared a drink together. After a moment, she inquired, "Were you aware? What are the steps to mastering the art of writing?" Her voice was delicate. Intrigued, Jesse offered a faint smile, a subtle acknowledgement of my actions. "Still do. Your mama imparted wisdom beyond measure." I'd never confess that. Sadie cast a look his way. "You instruct me on the inquiry to strike him with greater force." More than he anticipated. For a brief moment, he found himself unmoored. Indeed, he was certain he had understood her correctly. Yet there she maintained a steady gaze, with a calm tone, as the testing unfolded. "Of course I will," he said, "but perhaps we commence with the standard steed. The enigma of Stormchaser continues to baffle all who encounter it." "Who's not you?" Sadie smiled ever so slightly. "He pays attention, but not to just anyone." Jesse acknowledged that at times, it's not solely about preparation. The equine creature serves as a medium for acquiring knowledge on how to. Here within the abode, Vivian Hale secured. The rifle returned to its place in the cabinet. She understood. The peril had subsided, yet the conflict lingered. Merely on the periphery, there existed injuries in this family that remained unhealed. In the stillness, she eventually made her way onto the porch, and observed the pair of them seated next to her. "That girl requires a place to call her own," expressed to Jesse, "and I don't solely refer to the shelter of a steadfast presence, a companion who remains, who arrives as promised." Jesse locked eyes with her, declaring, "I am here now." Cora nodded once and then demonstrated it that afternoon. Sadie guided Stormchaser into the expansive meadow without restraint, without gear, only the stillness. With an unspoken bond, he trotted alongside her, as though he had undergone training. Yet he had not. It was a choice, it was a connection, it was love. Zeke Mason observed from afar, cleared his vision and murmured, "Never have I observed anything of that nature." Jesse stood by the barn, hands in his pockets, tears, flames flickering in the depths of his gaze, and for the first time since the blaze, he experienced a sense of, perhaps, just perhaps, he might find it within himself to forgive. 2 weeks later, he found himself in the town of Dry. The air was alive with murmurs as the community buzzed with excitement concerning the young woman who mastered the wild horse, regarding the Lilo Arrow who made an entrance into, embracing the journey of parenthood after years of quiet reflection, and the blaze that ultimately unveiled what required to be acknowledged yet in a more adventurous manner, silenced the clamor of the external realm. It was of no consequence that existence had settled into the cadence that resonated with an almost divine quality. Fixes in the serene morning, tranquil lunches on the porch, and endless afternoons where Sadie rode Thunderjack bareback across the pasture as if they were destined to exist side by side. Jesse had taken residence in the aged bunk, the dwelling behind he never inquired to take. Lena's abode was one he understood he could never truly possess, yet, with each passing day, he garnered a bit more of. Sadie's confidence in his culinary skills was evident, especially when it came to breakfast. Mornings, despite her claims to the contrary, starving, he toiled in the muck of the stalls and repaired the saddles with great care, and took a seat beside her in the quiet of the night when she had visions of haze and cries echoing. When she remained silent, he chose not to press her, merely spent a single Sunday, as Vivian Halla called them both, to the front porch. In her hands were a time-worn vessel that once was possessed by Lena. Within it lay a small document, a collection of vintage photographs, and an infant, an exquisite bracelet adorned with the name Sadie. May Rivers just gazed intently at it for quite a while. "She intended to inform you," Cora whispered gently, "the night of the fire. Lena had made her choice. She penned you The letter ignited alongside the barn. Jesse clutched the bracelet with quivering fingers, and Sadie extended her hand toward it, curling her, grasping his. "Perhaps the moment has come." We craft a fresh narrative, she murmured. Later that evening, Jesse escorted Sadie to the pinnacle of Wind Ridge where the Mustangs, once roamed freely many years ago, Stormchaser, stood beside them, composed and patient. There's no need to confine him, Jesse declared. He's not made for confinement. Sadie gazed at the horse before turning her attention back to her. Neither am I, she replied with a soft smile and a tender touch. She took a step back, and Stormchaser dashed forth, his silhouette as dark as the night, sliced through the shimmering meadows like a figure with wings dashing toward the expanse where peaks embraced the heavens. Unbound, unrestrained, they observed him until he vanished beyond the ridge, and in the stillness of the moment, Jesse placed a hand upon Sadie's shoulder, granted him liberation. Sadie gazed up at him as he offered it. In that fleeting instant, beneath the vast expanse of the heavens, as expansive as mercy, the history released, and the future started to exhale. If this tale resonated with you, please show your appreciation with a like, join the channel and ring the bell so you stay informed about what's on the horizon. Next, pass it along to someone who has faith in second chances, authentic connections, and the power of an untamed spirit that decides to confidence.